Okay, this is from Ravish. Exposing Scientology's abuses against women. Against women. Against women, troll. Nikki Glaudman. 3/20/2015. This is an organization that feminists should be on the front line attacking. I'm not big into feminism, but I'm going to read this. Skepticism about the church, or is that cult, of Scientology has been mounting since the religion first began in 1953. Allegedly. But it wasn't until the last few years that the attacks have moved from the fringe to the mainstream. Several high-profile members, including top execs, prestigious executives, and celebrities like Paul Haggis, we know what happened with him, and Leah Remini, have very publicly defected. And last year, Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Lawrence Wright wrote Going Clear, Scientology, Hollywood, and the Prison of Belief. An expose that thoughtfully, even-handedly, but damningly laid bare the church's darkest inner workings. Now that book has been turned into an HBO documentary of the same name, helmed by award-winning director Alex Gibney. It won't debut until Sunday, March 29th. But I caught a sneak peek at a movie theater in San Francisco. The film is objectively exceedingly well crafted. Well crafted. It is also so explosive. It could possibly be the expose that finally prompts real change within the ranks of Scientology. Well, let's see, that's 10 years ago. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. That change can't come soon enough. Because Scientology is, there's no way around it, an actively abusive cult that's destroyed the lives of many of its members. Like children. The church's abuses run deep. From its shady tax-exempt religious status, gleaned after pressuring the IRS with multiple individual lawsuits, like the child abuse ones, to its grifting of money. Grifting. Scientology, the biggest grifter on the planet. From members who must pay heftily to attain their spiritual enlightenment, to the fact that it turns people against family members who leave. It's disconnection. And that's to say nothing of the many charges against current leader David Miscavige, like he's the only one committing crimes, right? Who's been accused of physical, emotional, and psychological abuse. But in reading the book and now watching the movie, it was another facet of the church's shadowy workings that caught my interest. Its abuses against women. Its abuses against women. Kind of like the LAPD, huh? This is an organization that feminists should be on the front lines attacking. Of course, many religions hold patriarchal views that hurt women, but Scientology's abuses are particularly egregious, from forced abortions to RAPE cover-ups to sexualized labor. Not to mention they don't even call women ma'am or madame or miss. Kind of like what's going on right now, but what do I know about? These abuses trace their way to the very top, all the way to L. Ron Hubbard, the church's founder, LRH. Allegedly. As he is known in Scientology ranks, was by many accounts an abusive misogynist. Facts. How much misogyny have we seen already? Facts. Kind of reminds me like when Rinder was screaming at Nora a few inches away from her face when they were taping the Aftermath show. Kind of reminds me like that. Who set the tone for the church's treatment of women and girls. The film Going Clear shares the writings of his ex-wife, Sarah Northrup, who claims he frequently assaulted her. Of course he did. He once hit her across the face with a pistol and abducted their 13-month-old child. Yeah, weirdly enough, he never got arrested for that either. Isn't that weird, you guys? They're talking about Blacktooth LRH. 70 years, none of these agencies could find him. After being targeted by the IRS, allegedly, for tax evasion, Hubbard took to the high seas on a ship called the Apollo. Almost like he was allowed to do that, wasn't it? How many celebrities have we seen that they ream with that? Oh, what's the guy's name? Willie Nelson just comes to mind right away. Where he called himself the Commodore and messengers, you know, little girls, everyone, and some little boys. Fetched his drinks, child labor, anyone? Recorded what he said. Recorded, FBI. Drew his bath. That's not a recipe for a problem. A grown man having little girls to run his bath. That's not cause for anyone to be concerned. And otherwise. Oh, and by the way, the CRG members now are doing the same things with the children in there. It's time all schools, all teachers, all principals, you know, principals that are not pedophiles, learn about all this. And there's other ways to do it than just the internet. I really think we should start pushing these bumper stickers more, to be honest. And otherwise served his every whim, like a slave. Like a slave. Like a slave. According to accounts, many of these messengers, who were comely teenager girls, what does that mean, comely? Well, and they've just barely made teenagers. See, they love to squash down the child, you see? Who wore hot pants and halter tops. Isn't that great how they're painting the girls? I don't like how they're painting the girls at all. They mostly wore the stupid, ugly, disgusting CRG uniforms that Janice Grady talked about in her book, that she had to keep rewashing over and over, and nobody would buy her new outfits or new uniforms. So, of course, she had to come up with a plan to make it work, and I think she would let the hem out and things like that. So the very few times they ever got free time, maybe they wore hot pants and halter tops. Maybe to go get a suntan in the 70s. Comprising, I mean, this is her viewpoint, so I'm gonna stop interrupting. I'm gonna try. Comprising a sort of underage sexualized servant force. Funny, Rinder or Rathburn never talked about that, did they? Weird. Was that highlighted in the movie Going Clear or the book? Hubbard sought total subservience from the women in his life. Once he wrote an essay about 19th century war hero Simon Bolivar and his mistress, Manuela Sáenz, that stated because science had not adequately supported her man, Bolivar died a failure. Spoken from a true narcissist. I understand why they're always highlighting David Miscavige, but David Miscavige is not the only one committing all these crimes. All these dead dogs, allegedly. All these cut brake lines, allegedly. All these DAs getting run off the road. It's not Davey doing everything. It's not Davey doing all the R-245s. Wonder what Rathburn knows about the R-245s and the boat guy that came up dead floating. Wonder what he knows about it. This misogynistic mentality is shared by Hubbard's successor, Miscavige. I think it's shared by a lot of the men there and the boys. It's bred into them. The controversial leader and Tom Cruise, BFF, has been accused of abusing not just members, but his own wife, Shelley, whom he assigned as his assistant and demanded total servitude from. Listen to Jenna Miscavige, how she was treated by Shelley. When Shelley didn't get prior approval from David before sending out a list of organizational changes to members several years ago, she mysteriously disappeared and hasn't been heard from since. Oh, everyone knows where she is now. Actress Leah Remini, after defecting from the church, even filed a missing persons report for Shelley. Oh, remember what the LAPD chief did when Leah walked into the police meeting? I think it was Chief Moore. Chief Moore pretended like he didn't know who Leah was. What a joke. Where's he now? Many suspect Shelley was spirited away to one of the church's secretive detention camps to undergo interrogations and perform brute labor, like the kids do. All because she deigned to defy her man. I can't help but feel like a lot of these stories are deflecting. Always omitting the kids, aren't they? The church's abuses run deeper, though, than the men at the top. Systemic sexism is built into the very foundation of the cult. Facts. And pedophilia, in my opinion. 40-year-old men trying to sneak into 15-year-old little girls' beds. Where I come from, we had an answer for that. Forced abortions. The Sea Org, the church's paramilitary wing, strongly discourages procreation, opposite of the Mormons, on the grounds that children distract from service to the organization. That reminds me of the policy where remember the one I was highlighting the other day where it was a sec check asking children if they were distracting their parents from their work. Brave new world, brave new world, brave new world. As a result, many female members have claimed that they were forced to undergo abortions. In 2010, a dozen women spoke out to the St. Petersburg Times about being coerced to abort by facing isolation. And the women did this too. So a lot of these people that want to save some of these Scientologists, they don't need saving. Period. I'm always going to opt on the side of kindness and empathy, but some of them do not deserve saving. By facing isolation, name-calling, interrogations, and manual labor assignments. Yeah, to make them lose the baby. LAPD doesn't seem to have issues with that one. I still think the LAPD should be put on the RPF's RPF. Don't you guys? Made to run everywhere. 3 years later, a former Scientologist filed a lawsuit against the church that alleged it forced her to have an abortion at age 17. Minor. No such thing as a young adult. Minor. By threatening to take her house, husband, and job if she didn't, and telling her that if she lost her job, she would also have to pay a $120,000 freeloader debt to the church. Also, too, I can't help, I gotta bring up, you see how they never can decide what they are? They're parishioners, they're workers, they're ecclesiastical leaders, they're ministers. Nobody can decide. Until time for court appearances. The forced abortion stance seems to derive from Hubbard himself. Yeah, he committed plenty of them. It's on record. Even with some of his wives. Whose eldest son accused him of attempting 2 abortions on his mother. I believe they were there were successful ones. RAPE cover-up. You know, funny that we can't say that word anymore. The same people telling us not to say that word are the ones doing it. Facts. See all these idiotic mass media news story, forced sex with children? Even some of these big YouTube channels that I really admire. And maybe they're being told they need to say it like that. But forced sex with a 5-year-old? I don't think so. RAPE cover-up. In 2018, Jan Eastgate, you know, the one who got promoted after all this, the president of a Scientology front group called the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, was charged with perverting the course of justice for coaching a 12-year-old Scientologist girl, Carmen Rayner, and her mother to lie about her stepfather as abusing and R-ing her. The girl was told that if she spoke out about the abuse, wonder what Rayner knows about it, then. She spoke out about the abuse, she would never see her family again. This is told to a 12-year-old that really has been kept separate from her family the whole time. They use that the entire childhood of these kids. Meanwhile, several members of the church worked to protect her, I'm just going to say it what it was, to protect her pedophile stepdad. Told you, whomever created this created a big-time, hardcore, in my opinion, pedophile cult. Three years after the coaching took place, Eastgate was awarded, what did I tell you guys about these medals? What did I tell you guys about these medals? I did an amazing video on my previous channel about these folks that get the Freedom Medal. They don't like when you out them. She was awarded the Freedom Medal, the church's highest honor. I'm thinking also too, there's other medals that the little specks on the pyramid on the top, they do the same thing. Watch Rayner speak out about the incident here. I like this article. Anti-lesbian views. Paul Haggis. Did he get tried for R-ing young women? Typical of them to put themselves in the front, isn't it? I personally believe he's guilty. 100%. Even though it could have looked like a setup with Brian Kent as well as Paul Haggis, I 100% believe they're guilty. Paul Haggis, a Hollywood screenwriter, kind of like Neil Gaiman and Masterson, and we've never seen a film producer or a screenwriter abuse women, have we? Screenwriter who famously defected from the church after more than 30 years. Left in large part because he has 2 lesbian daughters. Isn't one of them named Rachel? She did a few videos. And discovered a branch of the church had backed Proposition 8 going clear. Backed Proposition 8. Oh, that must be something to do with... I don't do politics, but I can gist on it. Going clear suggests church officials actively harassed and humiliated Haggis, daughters, because of their sexuality. I don't know, you guys. Haggis would later discover that in Hubbard's Dianetics. So, how long was he in for? He was in for 30 years, you guys. But he had no idea that they were anti-gay or anti-child. Haggis would later discover that in Hubbard's Dianetics, the church's de facto Bible, a sexual pervert, is defined as someone engaging in homosexuality, lesbianism, sexual sadism, etc. And let's not forget, Hubbard said, little boys are the stuff. Demeaning auditions for Tom Cruise's wife. The film also details how so far they haven't talked about the child abuse, have they? Not in this article, but that film never covered the child abuse, did it? Weird. Kind of like so many of these so-called experts that never talk about it. The film also details how the church worked to separate Tom Cruise from Nicole Kidman. Do you guys know about Nicole Kidman's father? Go look it up, please. Who was openly skeptical of the organization and close to her psychologist father. A big no-no for an organization that disdains the psychiatric establishment. After the two divorced, and the church had also turned Kidman's 2 adopted children against her, on account of her being a suppressive person, the church went about auditioning good Scientology women to be Cruise's wife. One of those women, actress Nazanin Bodiati, was given a makeover before meeting Cruise, including having her hair dyed the color he liked. See how they treat the girls like dolls and the women? After they were together for a month, Miscavige came to visit them at a vacation home. Wonder if they're going to talk about the golf course that the kids had to work on. When Bodiati complained of a headache, she was accused of being rude to Miscavige by Cruise. I don't know that much about Cruise, but I don't like him from what I've heard. And I liked a lot of his movies back in the day, though. But he screams narcissist to me. All the stories that I've heard about him screams narcissist. And, it would show how him and Davey are like the best buds. But you and I both know Davey has like all kinds of blackmail on him. Just how it goes. She was accused of being rude to Miscavige by Cruise, who allegedly slammed his fist on the table in anger. It's a big man, isn't it, to scare a woman? Always the same with these. She wasn't allowed to go rest because she had a headache. Bodiati never heard from Cruise again, thank God. And wait until you guys hear what they did to her. When she confided to a friend about her heartbreak and was ratted out, because they all do that, was forced to scrub toilets with a toothbrush. There you go again with that. They don't often make the adults do that, though. But Tommy In a strange coda to the sordid affair, Bodhiati would later rap about the church. This ain't no road to freedom. It's a blind alley like Kirstie Alley. Travolta and Cruz, but we ain't no fools. Many will likely tune in to Going Clear to see what it has to say about the celebrities. Honestly, I'm so tired of hearing about celebrities. I couldn't give an F about celebrities. I like some of them, like some of the movies and television shows that they have entertained us with, and I appreciate it. But all of this, I couldn't care less. The celebrities like Cruz and John Travolta who drink and peddle Scientology's Kool-Aid. And the movie certainly doesn't shy away from the salacious material. But in the end, what lingers is the impression that this is an organization that exploits and abuses everyday decent people, destroying their families, subjecting them to psychological torture, stripping them of their money, harassing them, and otherwise leaving their lives in ruin. Utterly ruined. As is so often the case, this power-hungry organization has in many cases exploited women, in particular for gain. Facts. And that makes fighting Scientology a cause every feminist should care about. Facts. So I'll leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.